A dark hunger. The wind howled across the barren hill like a mournful cry, carrying the chill of autumn deep into Elias Thorne's bones. He stood motionless beside the solitary oak tree, its gnarled branches twisting skyward, like skeletal fingers grasping at the fading light. The tree was ancient, older than the village nestled in the valley below, its bark etched with scars from storms long forgotten. Elias had come here every evening for the past month, drawn by an inexplicable pull, as if the hill itself whispered his name in the rustling leaves. The villagers called it Widow's Hill, a name steeped in legend. They said the oak had been planted centuries ago by a grieving widow whose husband was hanged from its branches for crimes he did not commit. Her curse lingered, they whispered, binding the souls of the unjustly accused to the tree's roots. Elias had always dismissed such tales as superstition, the ramblings of old fools around the tavern fire. But that was before the disappearances began. It started with old man Hargrove, the miller, who vanished one foggy morning while checking his traps. Then young Sarah Wilkins, the baker's daughter, gone, without a trace after picking wildflowers on the hill's slope. The sheriff blamed wolves or wanderers, but Elias knew better. He'd seen the shadows lengthening unnaturally under the oak, heard the faint echoes of voices that weren't carried by the wind. And now his own brother Jacob had joined the lost. Jacob, who had laughed at Elias's warnings and climbed the hill on a dare, never to return. Elias shifted his weight, his boots sinking slightly into the damp earth. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and reds. He clutched the lantern in his hand, its flame flickering uncertainly, casting erratic shadows on the tree's trunk. "Jacob," he murmured, his voice barely audible over the wind, "if you're here, show yourself." The oak creaked in response. Its branches swaying through the air had stilled. Elias's heart quickened. He had come prepared this time, a silver cross from the church tucked into his coat pocket and a flask of holy water blessed by Father Mallory. But doubt gnawed at him. What if the legends were wrong? What if it wasn't ghosts, but something darker? Something that fed on the living. As darkness enveloped the hill, Elias lit the lantern fully, holding it aloft. The light revealed etchings on the bark he had not noticed before, initials carved deep, faded with time, J.H.S.W., and now, perhaps, J.T. for Jacob Thorne. No, that was his imagination. He shook his head, trying to dispel the growing unease. The village lights twinkled far below, a distant reminder of warmth and safety. But up here he felt utterly alone. A rustle in the underbrush made him spin around. "Who's there?" he called, his voice echoing unnaturally loud. Silence answered, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. He turned back to the tree, and that's when he saw it. A faint outline in the bark, like a face, emerging from the wood. Eyes hollow, mouth twisted in a silent scream. Elias blinked, and it was gone. Trick of the light, he told himself. But his hand trembled as he reached out to touch the spot. The bark was warm, unnaturally so, pulsing faintly under his fingers like a heartbeat. He jerked back, stumbling. Whispers began then, soft at first, indistinguishable from the wind, but as he listened, words formed. "Join us. Stay. forever. Elias's breath caught in his throat. He uncorked the holy water, splashing it onto the trunk. Steam rose where it hit, and the whispers turned to hisses like water on hot coals. The ground beneath him shifted, roots breaking through the soil like writhing snakes. He backed away, but one coiled around his ankle, yanking him off balance. He fell hard, the lantern tumbling from his grasp and extinguishing in the dirt. Darkness swallowed him whole. Panic surged as he clawed at the root, its grip tightening like iron. The whispers grew louder. A chorus of voices now. Hargrove's gravelly tone, Sarah's youthful lilt, and Jacob's familiar baritone. "Brother," Jacob's voice pleaded, "it's peaceful here. No more pain. Join us." Elias screamed, pulling the cross from his pocket and pressing it against the root. A searing pain shot through his leg as the root recoiled, releasing him with a snap. He scrambled to his feet, heart pounding, and relit the lantern with shaking hands. The tree loomed larger, its branches dropping lower as it reached for him. He should run. Every instinct screamed to flee down the hill, to the village, to the safety of hearth and home. But Jacob's voice echoed in his mind, tugging at the guilt he'd buried deep. It was his fault Jacob had come here. Elias had shared the legends one drunken night, mocking them, daring his brother to prove his bravery. Now Jacob was trapped, and Elias could not abandon him. Steeling himself, Elias approached the tree again. "What do you want?" he demanded. The wind picked up, whipping his coat around him. Leaves fell like rain, and in their swirl shapes formed, ethereal figures circling the trunk. Hargrove's stooped form, Sarah's slight frame, and Jacob looking just as he had in life, but with eyes that glowed unnaturally. "The curse binds us," Jacob's apparition whispered. His voice carried on the breeze. "The widow's vengeance. Only blood can break it. Blood of the innocent spilled willingly." Elias's mind reeled. Innocent? He was no saint, but he'd lived a quiet life, farming the fields, helping his neighbours. Was that enough? The figures drew closer, their forms translucent yet tangible, cold fingers brushing his skin. A chill seeped into him, numbing his limbs. "Take me instead," he blurted out. "Let them go." The tree groaned, branches creaking like laughter. The ground trembled, and a fissure opened at the base of the trunk, revealing a cavernous hollow within. Darkness pulled from it. Alive and hungry, Jacob's ghost nodded solemnly. "Step inside, brother. End it." Elias hesitated, the cross heavy in his hand, but the pull was irresistible now, a compulsion deeper than fear. He stepped forward, the hollow yawning like a mouth. As he entered, the wood closed around him, enveloping him in suffocating blackness. Inside, it was not empty. Roots entwined like veins, pulsing with stolen life. Visions assaulted him. The widow's husband swinging from the branch, her tears soaking the earth. Hargrove's final moments dragged under by unseen hands. Sarah's screams as shadows claimed her. And Jacob, laughing at first, then terrified, as the tree's essence invaded his soul. Elias felt it now, the curse weaving into his being, threading through his veins like ice. Pain exploded in his chest, but with it came clarity. The legends were wrong. It wasn't vengeance, it was hunger. The oak was alive, a parasite feeding on souls, growing stronger with each victim. The widow hadn't cursed it. She'd awakened it. He clawed at the walls, but they were unyielding. The whispers surrounded him, not pleading now, but mocking. "Welcome," they chorused, "eternal guardian." Time lost meaning in the void. Hours, days, Elias didn't know. His body weakened, but his mind sharpened, fused with the tree's ancient consciousness. He saw the village below, felt the roots extending like tendrils seeking more. When morning came, the hill appeared unchanged. The oak stood solitary, its branches swaying gently. But the villagers noticed something new, a fresh carving on the bark, E.T., and whispers of a new disappearance, Elias Thorne, last seen heading up the hill. Years passed. The disappearances continued sporadically, drawing the curious and the foolhardy. One evening, a young boy named Thomas climbed the hill on a dare, standing beside the oak as the sun set. He heard whispers, felt a warm pulse in the bark, and in the wood a face emerged, Elias's, eyes hollow, mouth twisted in warning. But Thomas didn't heed it. He touched the tree, and the roots stirred. The cycle endured, the solitary oak eternal, its guardians multiplying in silence. Elias's descent into the tree revealed more layers. As he merged, memories not his own flooded in. The oak's origin, not planted from a widow, but sprouted from the blood-soaked earth of a forgotten battlefield. Warriors slain in ambush, their spirits fusing with the sapling, twisting it into a sentinel of the dead. Elias fought the assimilation, his will clashing with the collective. "Release me," he roared inwardly, but the voices overwhelmed. "We are one. Guard the hill. Feed the hunger." He saw through the tree's eyes now, villagers approaching, their life forces glowing like beacons. The temptation grew to lure, to ensnare, to sustain. Guilt warred with survival. Jacob's essence brushed his. "It's not so bad, brother. We watch, we wait." But Elias resisted plotting escape. He focused on the cross, its silver burning in his pocket. Channeling his fading strength, he envisaged it piercing the heartwood. A crack formed, light seeping in. The tree shuddered, branches thrashing wildly. Outside, storm clouds gathered unnaturally. Lightning struck the oak, splintering a limb. Villagers watched from below, crossing themselves. Father Mallory led a procession up the hill, armed with axes and prayers. Inside, Elias felt the blow, pain lancing through him, but freedom beckoned. As the villagers hacked at the trunk, he pushed outward, his form emerging like a birth from wood. The tree screamed through the wind, roots lashing out. One impaled the sheriff, another ensnared Father Mallory. Chaos erupted, but Elias broke free, collapsing on the grass, human once more, but changed. His skin bore bark-like patterns, eyes glowing faintly. He grabbed an axe, joining the fray. "Burn it!" he yelled. They doused the hollow with oil, flames roaring to life. The whispers turned to wails as souls escaped, dissipating into the night. But as the oak burned, Elias felt a void. Part of him remained bound. In the embers, a sapling sprouted, innocent, yet ominous. He knew then the hunger persisted, waiting to rise again. Decades later, on a rebuilt hill, a man stood beside a young oak, whispers beginning anew.